to. I think there's
Barbara Wheeler?
yeah, 100 for sure. I would report me. You can be.
Okay, Jeff Manville here, I will call the regular Board of Selectmen meeting to order April 23rd, 2020, at 7 PM. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this should be a fairly interesting meeting with all our technology. We will move to the public comment section. If the people who would like to make public comment, limited to 2 minutes, please give your name and address when making the public comment. So we'll open it up, interestingly, for public comment. Do I have any public comment?
Paul, if you'd like to speak, you're recognized.
Is that for Paul Brophy?
Yes.
Name and address,
I was
please.
Yep, Paul Brophy, 87 Meadowbrook Road. And again, I mentioned this, I'm a member on the Park and Rec Commission. And I was more interested in listening to about Edgewood and, you know, the conversations going about supporting that cause.
If you have a computer that you could watch the streaming on our website, if not, we'll try to leave you on the phone so you can listen in.
Okay, yep, I'm gonna join.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ray, is there another one?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Michelle Zomer, if you'd like to speak, your public comment now is a good time. Michelle Zomer, can you hear me?
She's muted.
No, she's not. Is she?
Yeah,
Where?
right there. See her name?
No,
Toward the top.
sorry. Okay. Sorry, Michelle. How about now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hello. All right, very good. This is Michelle Zomer, 242 White Birch Drive in Southbury. On April 1st, Governor Lamont issued Executive Order 7S, and it provides a property tax relief program in the form of deferment. And tonight, I'd like to strongly urge the Southbury Board of Selectmen to take advantage of these property tax deferment measures that the governor put in place for us. It's likely that many people are not even aware that the town of Southbury, once enrolled, can defer a variety of taxes that eligible citizens might owe for a period of 90 days without penalty. And this would apply to real and personal property, motor vehicles, as well as some other taxes. I think this is a terrific program for our town. It provides people with some relief that we sorely need, and I would urge you to take advantage. You have just 2 days left to notify the state that the town wishes to participate, and I would urge you to do that, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Caller with the last four digits, 9853. Could you identify yourself, please? All right. Callers who are on the line that want to speak, could you press *9 so we know you want to speak?
Ray.
Okay. 9853. So go ahead, 9853, 262-9853.
Yes, this is Salvatore A. Pace, MD. I live at 891A Heritage Village. I have been a long-standing member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and we have at great length the pool at Ballantyne Park, which is obviously outdated and needs a lot of repair, especially since it's not ADA compliant, which is required now. I am in favor of buying the Edgewood Bath Tennis Club because it is significantly less in cost than it would be to repair the current facility. And it has two benefits. A, there's a significant amount of property around the facility that is unused and could be used at a much later different venues, such as an ice rink or what have you. In addition, the area now occupied by the pool at Ballantyne could also be used for additional facilities for parks and recreation. Therefore, in my opinion, it is a double bonus. Not only do we get a pool and a tennis club that we sorely need for the town and all of its residents, but we get the ability and the space to actually build new venues that could possibly
Thank
even
you.
be.
Mr. Pace, thank you. Thank you. You are out of the 2 minutes. I appreciate it. Ray, can we have the next comment?
Sure. Caller with the last four digits, 0456. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Don Winter from Palmer Road. I just want to say that I really would have liked to have seen more specifics or more due diligence done on the pool committee and not just shared a 10-page summary and some summary slides. At the last meeting, it seemed a lot of the final decisions to go with Edgewood were made on judgment calls. I heard a lot of words like something didn't feel right, and so, overlooked or didn't take into consideration lower bids in what was being considered. I just think, even on the projected financials, they seem to be loaded up for Edgewood, where the consideration of a brand new pool facility in Ballantyne, it was considered would yield 0 new memberships, where to me that doesn't seem to be intellectually honest. And at the end of the day, I just feel like the town should have a vote. There should be a referendum, and if it can't happen by July, I just ask that the town negotiate a later date with the owners to finalize any deal. I think that if you tell them that the committee and the Board of Finance recommend it, they will probably allow it. So I would ask to fight a little harder to make a true referendum instead of just say, whoop, July's here, we're going to have to vote on it without letting the town have a say. I do think there should be a premium placed on keeping things in town, some town pride. We've had 0 increases in tax, which is great, but it also means things get neglected. And our town pool got neglected. Town signs get neglected. We get chip sealing, and all of that chips away at town pride. And this is going to be another piece of that. So I also think skipping the referendum will cause pride to dissipate as much, and it will cause increased negativity within the town.
Thank you,
once again.
sir. You're out of your 2 minutes. Appreciate you giving the
Great.
comment. Ray, do we have another one?
We do. Mr. Hanley, if you'd like to speak, please go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I totally support the Edgewood purchase. I just can't see raising taxes to repair an old pool when you can purchase an entire bath and tennis club. To me, it's the best decision for Southbury, its families and residents. And after looking at what I have seen as the numbers, it's a fiscally sound decision as well. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Ray?
Yes, well, I'll put it this way. Anybody who's recently joined the call, if you'd like to speak during public comment, please press star 9 on your phone, and I'll see your hand raised. Caller with 9599 as the last 4 digits. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. It's Lori Grabowski on Sleepy Hill Road. I just briefly would like to say that I don't support us buying real estate outside of our town lines. I'd like to see Valentine restored. And most importantly, I would like to see a referendum on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak during public comment? Please press star 9. And participant with the name Barbara Wheeler, do you need to speak at all?
Oh, how do I get here?
Beg your pardon?
I think she's muted.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Oh, wait, Jeff. I think she's muted.
Uh,
Can you unmute her?
I can unmute her, but she has to unmute herself if she wants to speak. So,
Tell her one more time.
Barbara Wheeler, if you'd like to speak, please press
you
star
hear me
6
now?
on your. Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't going to speak, but I really believe we need a referendum. So I hope you will work towards this. You will know what the town wants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other callers for public comment?
Last 4, 1111.
Caller with the last 4 digits 1111, did you need to speak? Guess not.
Okay, hearing no other public comments, we'll close that part of our agenda. That went fairly smooth, Ray, thank you.
Welcome.
Board of Selectmen's meeting, you have your reports in front of you. Moving on next to the consent agenda, do I have a motion from one of the selectmen for approval of the consent agenda?
Hi, Jeff, it's George Bertram. I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
George has moved, can I have a second on that?
Mike Rosen.
Looks bum.
Okay, we'll take, Mike Rosen will accept the second, is that right?
Thank you. That is correct.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. George Bertram? George Bertram?
He's muted.
Yeah, I was muted, but it wasn't me. The host had muted me somehow.
Yeah.
I'll approve it.
Okay. Emily Harrison?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I actually seconded, but I don't know if anyone can hear me, but yes.
Okay.
Yay.
Jason Bucksbaum?
Yes.
Mike Rosen?
Yes.
Justin Betty?
Aye.
And then the first selectman will vote in the affirmative, and it passes. Thank you.
Could I just suggest that members of the Board of Selectmen don't mute your mics, that way I won't have to unmute you first. If you stay unmuted, everything should be fine.
Okay, so stay unmuted, people. Appreciate that. Bids and procurement, RFQ for the rental equipment. Do we have that, Betsy?
We do. It's right here.
Those are the 4 contractors that are approved to go out to bid, pre-qualified. Do I have a motion?
George Bertram here. I'll move it.
Can I have a second?
Emily, I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen.
Aye.
The first selectman will vote yea also. Thank you. Minutes of April 2nd, 2020, regular meeting. Have a motion for approval.
Mike Rosen, so moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second?
I'll second. George Bertram.
George Bertram will second it. Any discussion on the minutes of April 2nd? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
and the first selectman will vote in the affirmative also, so it passes. Unfinished business, relief from certain municipal tax deadlines and collection efforts. Up on the board is a resolution to approve. Do I have a motion?
Jason Bucksbaum, so moved.
Thank you, Jason. Do I have a
Mike
second?
Rosen, second.
Mike Rosen, second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
Jason Bucksbaum.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I just have one comment. Under the executive order and as referenced in Dan's memo, what we're doing is we're choosing the low interest rate program. And I'd mentioned this earlier today. I'm just wondering if we should put that in the resolution that we're making that election, because the executive order says the legislative body has to make the election by this week and then notify OPM. So that's what we're doing. So I'm just wondering if we should add that verbiage to the resolution.
And what's the verbiage?
Just that we're electing to, we're choosing to participate in the low interest rate program.
Okay, so additional to this resolution for approval is that we are choosing the low interest rate deferral. That will be reflected in the minutes. Is that okay?
Not deferral, low interest rate program.
The low interest rate program. Yeah. Any other comments?
George Bertram, I agree with that change.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
and the first selectman will also vote in the affirmative, and it passes. Okay, on to new business IPOC resolution.
I'd make a motion to approve. Is Justin?
Justin Betty made a motion to approve. Can I have a second on that?
George Bertram, I'll second it.
George Bertram has seconded it. And I'll open it up for discussion.
Jeff, just so everybody knows, obviously I'm the liaison to IPOC. This is advice that came to us from FIA. I'm sure you guys all remember that the Board of Finance approved this earlier this week. It's a slight change in the allocation of between bonds and equities in our reserve account is the primary change here.
Thank you, Justin. Any other comments?
Mike Rosen.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to address it to Justin. Justin, do you know, just for those who weren't listening on the Board of Finance meeting, do we know sort of the impact on our investment performance, to date this year, especially since the markets have been so volatile? I don't think we've seen flash reports in the last 30 days yet. Right. I think we'll see them soon. So the short answer to that is no.
Yeah, I have no issues with the allocation. I think it makes sense, but I do think that I think we should find out. It'd be good to find out what what the implications have been. Certainly it's going to be down. The question is how much. So.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Emily Harrison,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
and the first selectman will also vote in the affirmative. Thank you. Emergency management operations. We do have Scott Furr on the call here, so he should be able to discuss some of the operation and what we're seeing. Scott, are you available?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Let me give everybody a few brief updates, and I'll answer any questions you have once I get complete here. Good evening, Southbury Board of Selectmen in the town of Southbury. First off, everyone in the EOC has stepped up. They have been doing a fantastic job. I cannot thank them enough for their efforts during the response to this event. This will be an update on the town's efforts in response to the novel coronavirus outbreak, also known as COVID-19. COVID-19 is affecting the nation as a whole. Currently in the U.S., there are 856,209 reported cases, 47,272 reported deaths, and 78,339 reported recovered cases. I mentioned the word reported above to indicate there are several issues with the data. Number one, testing is not all inclusive. Until we test everyone in America, there will not be a true accounting of how many were or are truly infected with the virus. Number two, there is always a lag in reporting the above numbers, whether it is from the delay of the testing results being received, or the delay in the reporting the actual death, or delay in reporting a recovered case. Number three, the following quote is directly from the state of Connecticut's daily report as to how the deaths are categorized. And I quote, "For the public health surveillance, COVID-19 associated deaths include persons who tested positive for COVID-19 around the time of death and persons who were not tested for COVID-19 whose death certificate lists COVID-19 disease as a cause of death or significant condition contributing to death." End quote. From the above quote, you can see testing positive for COVID-19, even with a comorbidity, COVID-19 is counted as the cause of death. Number four, the method to correctly identify a recovered person is still being refined. There are several cases where a twice negative tested person is now testing positive. Number five, currently there is no determination after one exposure if you attain any level of immunity, so there could be some double counting of cases. Number six, within the state, there is currently not a system that is reporting all of the positive cases. They are currently working on refinement of the Maven system, but we are still finding gaps in the reporting. And number seven, finally, we will not know the true data until probably a year after the virus has been eradicated, or we have several years of surveillance data available to analyze. Moving on. For reference, the National Response Framework was designed for a national effort, not a worldwide effort. The National Response Framework is what the whole incident command system is based off of for the response within the continental United States and our territories abroad. There is a worldwide competition for high demand, low density PPE, personal protective equipment, mainly masks. Currently, the worldwide shortage of PPE is a limiting factor, complicating planning and response efforts. Everyone is competing against everyone worldwide for PPE. This is the first time in history all 54 states and territories have been under a declaration of a major disaster at the same time. Currently, there is an incredible strain on federal, state, and local governments. The town of Southbury was monitoring the outbreak of novel coronavirus from just after the time it first appeared in China. The town of Southbury identified early on a main population at risk was our senior population. The town of Southbury opened the EOC on 16 March 2020. Steps we accomplished. We opened the EOC in an area that did not impact other first responder operations and large enough to attempt to maintain social distancing. We transitioned to a virtual EOC to further maintain social distancing and limit the potential spread amongst EOC workers. We recommended town hall offices transition to business by appointment only. We worked with Senior Center to assist in their Herculean and very successful process of executing the grocery brigade. We set up processes to assist our first responders and our emergency medical service partners, Southbury Ambulance Association, Heritage Village Ambulance Association, and Heritage Village Master Association Security Section. We are in constant contact and coordination with these outside partners. We are in daily contact and coordination with the Pomperaug District Department of Health. Working with Pomperaug District Department of Health early on, we identified a gap in reporting positive cases located at Southbury Training School. We used our chain of reporting within the incident command system set up by the state and engaged the Department of Developmental Services to correct the issue. We closed the gap and corrected the reporting process. Now Pomperaug District Department of Health is included in daily reports from the Department of Developmental Services. We are passing data to each other and providing cross-checks for data that we suspect is not accurate. We are also attending meetings set up by the Pomperaug District Department of Health and our assisted living facility partners, assisting them as appropriate when needed. We have participated in 21 meetings with outside partners to assist in coordination efforts and actions taken in response to COVID-19. These are a very small amount of the actions taken in the Southbury EOC the staff has dealt with so far. The Southbury EOC has created and refined the following processes: tracking and ordering of PPE for town departments, along with assisting our EMS partners with sourcing of PPE. We're working with the Pomperaug District Department of Health to develop a procedure for protecting our first responders and responding to calls in Southbury. We assisted Pomperaug District Department of Health with the Physicians One drive-up testing on 11 April 2020. We developed a tracking mechanism for clusters in assisted living facilities. We attend weekly meetings with Pomperaug District Department of Health and our assisted living partners. Daily tracking of first responders. We're monitoring for clusters and suspicion of service limits. We are coordinating with the state and our regional partners if we get close to those limits, and we have not reached or even come close to one yet. We refined the communications for the town citizens. We listened to their inputs. We created some daily web info releases, redesigned the town website landing page, recorded voice messages from the first selectman, to name a few. We're working directly with the State Department of Developmental Services to develop a process to monitor clusters at Southbury Training School on a continual basis. We're working with Southbury Economic Development Department to assist local businesses with information flow and passing on websites, federal and state information flow websites with the most current known information. We assisted the Southbury Public Works Department with a safe process to reopen bulk waste collection at the transfer station that was suspended back in March. We are also working on a process to secure temporary housing for first responders in case of exposure requiring isolation and or quarantine. The Pomperaug District Department of Health has the authority to order such isolation and quarantine methods. We monitored the rain and windstorm while continuing support for COVID-19 on 13 April 2020. The EOC is in daily monitoring status while providing update briefs 3 times a week. The EOC transitioned to 3 times a week daily updates on 15 April 2020 at the recommendation from myself. Southbury Physicians One drive-up testing on 11 April resulted in 140 tests, which was considered a success. Heritage Village Master Association is setting up a Physicians One walk-up testing on 6 May. It's in the early stages of that coordination right now, and that date may change. The EOC is working with a mask decontamination system via the Battelle system. Logistics issues are being worked out, but it appears that this will prolong the current use of our N95 masks, which will take some of the pressure off of the worldwide shortage. We are currently in the transition phase in the town of Southbury. We are monitoring the emerging clusters in assisted living facilities while trying to model what the new normal is. Will we all be wearing masks until the fall? We'll be looking at a resurgence in the infection rates in the fall. What if Connecticut tries to reopen too soon and we get a rebound in the infection rate? How many local businesses will survive after this? What will the tax base look like if this continues? What will the state of Connecticut physical health look like on the other side of this event? These are issues that we cannot affect. However, we still need to look at them because they possibly could have effects on other things we're trying to assist with. The Southbury EOC will continue working with our partners in Region 5, Pampero District Department of Health, Region 15 School District, Heritage Village Masters Association, our assisted living facilities, and other outside partners for the duration of this event. Thank you for this opportunity to update the Board of Selectmen and the town on this response effort. I'm standing by for your questions.
Are there any questions of Scott Furr on this report? If I may, for the public record, this has been a very difficult, stressful number of weeks with uncertainties and unknowns. I will say that the town hall employees of the town of Southbury have made a tremendous effort. Too many for me to even go publicly. We'll probably eventually have a report of all the activities and how great so many of our employees in the town pitched in. Our volunteers who have stepped up have been tremendous. The efforts by the Senior Center in Tamath, Rossi, with the Grocery Brigade and all the volunteers that have helped with that. I firmly believe that was one of the biggest helps in preventing more infection rates amongst our elderly. There will be a lot of people who will question what was done or how it was done or why it was done. It'll all be done after this is done. We have performed, all of us, the Board of Selectmen, the employees of the town of Southbury, the volunteers in Southbury, have all performed at 100% to get us in what I think the board would agree, is in a much better place than we had ever anticipated we were going to be. And for that, I want to thank the Board of Selectmen, the employees of the town of Southbury, the volunteers, the people in the grocery stores, the people in the nursing homes, healthcare facilities. Southbury, in my mind, we're not out of the woods, but I think it's not as scary being in the woods as when we first started. Do I hear would anybody else like to say something on this?
Mike Rosen?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. And thank you, Scott, for the update and for the work. And I certainly do echo the sentiments of Jeff, in particular, the work of Tamath on the Grocery Brigade and all the volunteers who have stepped up for that. We are a town that runs on volunteers, and that clearly has shown. I had one question just for Scott. Well, actually, two questions. Previously we had been getting these reports on a daily basis, which were really informative, and sometimes they included more detail than others, including some more specific information on the number of positive cases at the various assisted living and nursing facilities in town. And I've seen that drop off of late. I'm curious as to why and if we'll continue. And that's question one. Question two is our stock on being able to provide PPE, in particular face masks. I do know that there's a state initiative now at ctfacemasks.com that went live yesterday where you can get bulk orders of face masks. I know my community foundation was able to order them and that they're in pretty reasonable pricing. And I'm just wondering if we're pursuing any of those, or if our inventory to help support our local healthcare providers are satisfactory. Thank you.
Scott, did you get that?
He's on mute.
I think, Ray, do you have to unmute him? Scott Furr? If he muted himself?
Yeah.
Okay. Scott, you're...
There we go. Yeah, I'm back now.
Go ahead.
To answer your question, Mike, one, I want to make sure I get both of them. When we transitioned to 3 days a week in an effort to save the town, not to save the town, but to reduce the cost burden on the town, we went to 3 hours support on each one of those days. We've been doing meetings where I'm training a lot of the staff and getting them up to where they can operate on their own. My goal is to start those reports back up. Currently, if you look at, and I can't have my cursor, but if Betsy can put their cursor over the top there, over the middle, right there where you're at, that right there are the numbers for Southbury that came up from Paparog District Department of Health today. If you take out, and I don't have the exact numbers because we just got 4 more cases while we were on the phone. If you take out about 25 to 30% of those numbers, that's probably what more of the town is, the assisted living facilities. And again, I just got new numbers, so I don't have the exact numbers. I believe it was 21, 26, about 42 people, and I could be off a few numbers either way, about 42 people that were in our cluster groups being STS or the assisted living facilities. Again, don't hold me to that exact number, but it's close. So if you take those out, we're a lot closer to the Oxford level. However, they are residents within our town and our assisted living facilities and STS, so they count within our numbers. So we should try to maintain that count. I can, if it's a desire of the Board of Selectmen, to break those numbers out, and I can do that very easily in the future. And if that provides you better information, we can certainly go that way. And please, when you get these reports from me, don't hesitate if you want to see different information, a different way, to let us know, because we can. These are reports for you, so you can make sure that you're getting all the information that you desire. Does that help for that one?
Thank you.
Okay. And the second question, I did receive that Connecticut face masks email today. I did some research. They're representing those as level 2 masks. I went on the FDA website. There's no such thing as a level 2 mask. There is a class 2 mask, which has a lot of official certifications and requirements to go with it. So as a surgical mask, I don't think that's appropriate representation. However, as a face mask, it's probably fine. We have surgical masks, or face masks, I should say, that we purchased already. So we are not in need of those right now. N95 masks are the ones where we're not at a critical level yet. However, we don't have a huge supply of those. So this Battelle decontamination system that they secured that is down in New Haven. We're looking into that to look at the logistics issues of that system, which there's supposed to be no cost for the municipalities. There's also another system represented by another company that we're going to be doing having a meeting with either tomorrow or Monday to look at their system, and supposedly they're going to offer that to us for free also. The Battelle system is certified by the CDC and I believe the FDA. I could be wrong on the FDA, but the CDC gave them, I believe, emergency authority to represent that they have met the certification issues. So the Battelle system right now is the gold standard. That is the one that the hospitals are using. That is the one that FEMA purchased 60 systems to go around the country. So that right now is the one that we're going to look at first. However, if the logistics are such and the qualifications on the other system are the same, this other company might have just purchased a Battelle system and not calling themselves Battelle. But if it is in fact the same system and they are willing to locate it closer to us and the logistics are better, we would certainly use that system to save time and money. So does that answer your questions?
It does. The one suggestion I would make, at least ask us to consider with the ctfacemask.com website is, I agree that, and they're pretty straight up that they're surgical face masks that are not of a certain grade, but they are certainly, with the new governor's mandate as of Monday that you have to wear some kind of covering in public. So whether it be for those residents who can't find or afford face masks, or for our local businesses who are still doing delivery and are interacting still with residents, if there might be the opportunity for us to purchase some of these in bulk to help fill that need, I think it is something we might want to consider. But thank you, Scott, for the work and the update.
Yep. Yeah, we will certainly add them to our list of suppliers. We maintain a list of suppliers. We don't endorse any of the suppliers, but we maintain a list for anybody that wants them, and we might want to get that, just put that up on the website. That way, if anybody's looking for something, they can reach out to one of these people. But most of them want huge bulk orders. This is one of the first ones to lower their numbers
Yeah.
to where the realm where business could afford it, certainly.
Yeah, they're doing 50, a pack of 50 for about $75. It's not, you know.
If I may, for the board, we can have more comments here, but I want, I'm not, if everybody's under, what I have done and switched to. S2RG's contract had run out, I think, April 15th, 14th, I forget the date. And Scott sent me some options. He was aware of the expense of running through his company. So what I came up with is Scott will be working 3 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that was April 15th, 17th, the 20th, the 22nd, and 24th. And we will see where this COVID, if we continue to go down, if it gets worse, it gets better. Hopefully we're starting to flatten out, and a lot of things are in place now. With that, Scott sent me an email and communication that he is recommending that Bob Harrison run the EOC, and we do a looking to do a transition so that Harrison can run it. Scott will always be around, or if he goes back to his regular job, if we need to, and do a transition. As Scott said, everything is in place, it's running, people know what needs to be done. And what I'm looking for is if the board would vote to name Bob Harrison as acting Emergency Management Director for the duration of the COVID-19 crisis. There is Dan Colton I talked with Dan Colton. There should be enough money in our budget in the Emergency Management Director line item to cover the salary. The salary would be at what the approved budget is for next year that we had figured, and that this would transition over to Bob Harrison to operate. It would be much less expensive. He's very capable to do this, and that's Scott's recommendation. So is there any questions on that?
Jason Buxbaum.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'll make a comment, then I'll ask a question. For those who have sat in on some EOC calls over the last week, I think we've seen sort of the transition take place, and at least from my perspective, it seems to be going smoothly. And I certainly have confidence in Bob's ability to sit in that role, and he seems to. It seems to be going well, and the discussions are going well in the EOC calls. And then my question is a budgetary question. My recollection from last year is that we had like $10,000 or something in the EMD line item. So is the expectation that it would be on a part-time basis based on the hourly rate of the new budgetary amount?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And that I don't envision this being as intense of a 12-hour or more a day as it was in the beginning. So, you've seen how well we're using a lot of the people who are employed full-time to do this from the library. Like I said, it's just amazing. I think, again, I will say this again, the people of the town of Southbury should be very happy with the performance of the employees of this town and how they've come through. Jason, do you have anything else on that?
No, nothing further from me.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff, this is Emily.
Who's that?
It's Emily.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to recuse myself from the conversation and any potential votes.
Understood. Anybody else? Could I have a motion to name Robert Harrison as acting emergency management director during the COVID-19 crisis?
George Bertram, I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second on that?
Second, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. George Bertram,
Aye.
Jason Bucksbaum,
Aye.
Mike Rosen,
Aye.
Justin Betty,
Aye.
and the first selectman will vote in the affirmative, and I want to thank you for that. We'll move on to the first selectman's report. There's not a lot, but I would like to tell you that it's a little exciting to have a bright spot. We are proceeding with the Lakeside Park. It's under construction. I'm hoping that maybe by the time it's finished and we can remove the fence and actually let children play down there. I would encourage our selectmen to take a ride by there sometime. I have some pictures of construction, but it's not very pretty yet, but you might want to take a ride by. I'm also working on a new site plan for the fuel tanks at the Public Works yard across from Public Works in a different location. I hope to get that presented in for the May's meetings for it will go before wetlands also and go before the planning. We're actually improving they're adding in another cleaning thing to the drainage system, which will make it even a better system there. So let me see. I also want to let the board know that we had the engineering firm look at the possibilities of locating the above ground fuel tanks in the Public Works garage area proper where we operate right now. And they have the ability to put in turn radiuses, the vehicles that would turn, they have that software for all of that. And I have that document in my office that came in, and there is no feasible location that will work for the fuel tanks in Public Works garage proper area. I just want to let you know. Reports from liaisons. George.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
I have masks, if anybody's interested. These are just cloth masks, but they're free. I've got quite a number of them, and I can get more. I'm not quite sure how to distribute them. I have been able to distribute some, but I can make them, or I can get them made faster than I can distribute them at this point. So anybody has any ideas on that, I'm all ears. Been doing a lot of work on the pool project, as you know. We had presentations on April 1st, April 6th, April 13th, and totally so far we've done over 6 hours of public presentations. So there's been a lot of information out there. A lot of questions have been submitted, and we're trying to get to answering them all. We're planning for another presentation sometime in May. I'm thinking early May, might fall to mid-May, but we want to focus this next presentation on financial questions because they're kind of complex in some ways that it justifies its own discussion. If people are interested, we can delve into some of the details of projections of revenue and expenses. And so far what we've presented is a ultra conservative view of revenues. And I know some folks have looked at that information and they think it's an optimistic view of revenues when it's just the opposite. So we've had some feedback that folks are saying that we're overestimating the revenues when we actually, the finance team on this project went the other way. I mean, they put in ultra conservative numbers. So what I'd like to do for the next meeting is present low or conservative revenue estimate, which is kind of what we have, and then sort of a medium estimate, and then an optimistic estimate if everything goes well. So we'll have 3 different revenue estimates to look at. As far as updates is what's been happening on the pool project, the Board of Finance did approve the money in the budget, didn't approve the project. Absolutely, as we know, we have to approve that in the Board of Selectmen. In their April 20th meeting, planning did approve the 824. It was a 5-to-1 vote. Strategic Planning Commission voted 9-0 in favor of Edgewood. We've had endorsements from Michael Ganem, the Park and Rec Director, who's actually quite excited about the possibility. Kevin Bielmeyer, our Economic Development Director, has also endorsed it. And we did receive a 3rd estimate from Aquitectonic, and we're pretty confident that at this point, with our 3 estimates from the engineering design firms, Weston and Sampson, Aquitectonic, and Bennett Sullivan, that the cost to rebuild Ballantyne Pool and Pool House is a $4 million project. I don't think there's any doubt at that at this point, although there's some people that are doubting it, but in the minds of the task force, that there is no doubt. The master list of comments was posted on the Edgewood document dump. There's now about 26 documents there. And there's another document that actually breaks out the sort of the vote, if you will, of the comments. And so far, of about 220 or 30 comments we've got in there, it's about a 55.2% in favor and a 23.8% against. That's a 2.3 to 1 ratio, pro to con. And there's a number of comments that are just questions, so we can't really gauge them as to whether they're votes for or against. We're still engaging and responding to many of the questions, and once I don't know when we're going to post those. We might want to post them in stages, because it's going to take me a while and take the task force a while to really respond to all the questions. We're trying to do every single one. Some of them are impossible, we're not going to be able to do, but we're trying to do most of them. When I say do, what I mean is we're responding with an email response back to whoever sent the question. So those responses will be posted at some point. Also, we have an offer by Hugh Sullivan and Kevin Bennett to any of the selectmen who wish to review the project, speak to them directly. They'll be more than happy to spend whatever time you might want to spend with them, discussing their thoughts and ideas and why they think the way they do. I would like to note that Hugh Sullivan has presented what he calls a probable estimated timeline of Ballantyne construction work schedule. That's the title of the document. It's actually an email, but he believes that if we did a reconstruction on Ballantyne, the pool would be out of service for 2 seasons. Just as a point of reference, if anyone's asking about that. Another point I'd like to mention is we are starting to arrange tours. Park and Rec will be taking some tours next week. I'm not sure of the day. And the owner, Susie Jones, is trying to set up public tours sometime in May, after the pool is open and there's water in it and the leaves are green and the grass is green and all that. I think it'll be done by appointment. So she's asking that people don't just show up. She's had a lot of people drive into her driveway just looking around. She says much more than normal. There's a lot of people that just drive through, and that's okay. She doesn't mind that, but what she's asking is that folks, if they do drive into the parking lot, not get out of the car and then wander around the property. She's hoping that people won't do that. It hasn't been a big problem to date, but she's just hoping that it doesn't become one. I am looking for pool inspection options. I've got one at $500, another at $1,500. I'm trying to understand why there's a difference in the cost. And that's about it. Any questions? on that.
Okay, there was, what about the other, do you have anything on the other reports?
Not a lot. I mean, there's been some talk about the cell mobile coverage. Joe Ruggiero is doing some work on that. What he's trying to do is get 4 cell phones, and it turns out he's going to have to buy them. We don't have anything in Ray Mather's inventory that we can use, so he's going to try to get 4 identical cell phones, 1 for each of the band providers, and he's going to try to drive around the town and actually measure the coverage himself using a system that has been developed by an engineer in New Hampshire. And I think I talked about it at the last meeting. The guy in New Hampshire who did it found that the maps he got from the cell service providers were not very useful. They didn't really tell the full story. He got much better information doing his own drive around. So that's what we're going to try to do here. I have not heard anything back from Kevin Russ on the non-disclosure agreements that we're going to get from the providers, which would allow us to take a look at their maps. So I don't have any more news on that. There's nothing on IT, nothing on road. Police radio upgrade, there was a meeting. I missed that meeting, so I can't give you an update, although I hear there's another one coming up. SPC, and really, they're just not doing anything right now. So that's it for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff, it's Jason.
Yes, sir.
And I just, I guess it's a comment on the on some of George's comments on the pool stuff. I just wanted to convey, and I've spoken to you and George about this. The pool task force, and I thank them all for all the work they've done. They've put a tremendous amount of time and effort into all of this. Once they're done with their work, George just mentioned that there may be another presentation. I think that would be helpful, stressing those financial numbers. I spent a long time with Dan Colton last week going through some of that. Once that happens, after that, and after we let this sit a little while and see what the world looks like in a few weeks, the Board of Selectmen ultimately is the body that needs to take a vote to send it to referendum. Hopefully that's what we're doing, or ultimately on the project. And the Board of Selectmen hasn't had any meetings on the topic. And I think what needs to happen, at least in my mind, from a process perspective, is our board, the Board of Selectmen, sometime in the future, not the near future, maybe end of May, June, needs to set up a couple of specific meetings for the purpose of hearing from our public, hearing from our residents, just on this topic, because I think it probably wouldn't work well in the middle of one of our board meetings, and we'll have some practice with the public comment by then too, and really have some process where the Board of Selectmen, which is the ultimate decision maker, is going to at least give people an opportunity. Whether they take it or not is a different story, but to participate and convey to us their thoughts on the project, as we have done in the ordinary course, if not for the unusual circumstances we find ourselves in. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, we I figured we kind of take a little. I know we have time. We have May, early June. We can, and I do. You're right, Jason. I think we need to have special meetings on the pool. Hopefully in between the Board of Selectmen's meetings, to do that. So hopefully we'll see some relief from the COVID, some loosening of restrictions coming ahead. I'm hoping, and I'm going to optimistically anticipate that. And certainly once we do, a little further down the road, not the near future, like you said, but in the future, we will certainly schedule some of those board meetings and go from there. Selectman Betty.
Thank you. None of my groups have met, but on the economic development front, there is communication, and obviously Kevin has been very proactive about getting information to our business community about the programs that are available, deadlines, how to apply. There's been a really good volume of useful information there, and it's all on our website, and it's also being pushed out on some of the email lists, which I'm on. IPOC did have a telephone meeting to go over the resolution that we just approved. Their next regular meeting will be May 18th. On the senior commission, they are not meeting, but Tamith is organizing the grocery brigade, Monday through Friday. I've been down there with her multiple days on each of the last 3 weeks, and it's really something to see how that has come together, the efficiency and the thankfulness that we're seeing in letters and notes from our seniors for helping them out in this way. So it's quite an effort, and it's going very well.
Thank you. Jason?
No, none of the historic meetings, and obviously we've been talking about already tonight the town's response on the COVID, and I'll just echo the things that have been said. Certainly what Justin was talking about, senior center and everything you said, Jeff. I'd just like to thank all of our town employees, staff, healthcare providers, responders. Everyone's really come together and done an exceptional job for our town, and I think things are going as smoothly as they can.
Thank you. Emily Harrison?
None of my committees have met either. Starting to sound the same. But just to echo off of Justin's comments, personally participated in the grocery brigade and felt very lucky that I got to help deliver some of the groceries and personally get some of those thank you notes and read them. And it's really moving to the public if you're able. I know that they need as much help as they can get. And so encourage you to do that. It's a very rewarding experience, and our seniors really need it. Appreciation to all of the town employees, but I know some of the library employees especially have been helping out with which is fantastic. And our EMS committee is disappointed that we had to cancel tonight due to the conflict with the board meeting, but they're reviewing stuff in the interim and ready to meet in May, and excited about that. And appreciation for all of our emergency service workers and volunteers for helping us out and kind of being in the line of fire during this pandemic.
Thank you. Mike Rosen?
Thanks, Jeff. I echo all those sentiments. I do have, one thing before I get into my updates. In our consent agenda, we accepted the resignation. We approved and accepted the resignation of Sandy Sarin from a director of social services who's done great service for the town, and I just want to acknowledge her. And in her departure, certainly, Jeff, I hope we can talk at upcoming meetings of the opportunity it may present. We've talked a lot about the opportunity to bring somebody in who has a social work background there, and bring another municipal agent potentially in. So I think that would be exciting. But I do want to tip my hat to Sandy for her service to the town. Parks and Rec has not met, but they will be meeting on April 30th. So that's their next meeting at 4:30. They are working to arrange individual walkthroughs of Edgewood for the members of the Parks and Rec Commission on Tuesday, April 28th. Because of social distancing rules, Michael Ganem has asked that he will escort one commissioner at a time to go through. So that's going to take place for the Parks and Rec Commission members on the 28th, if they so choose, prior to that meeting. Planning, as George stated, did meet earlier in this week. They did approve the 824 reference. I will say there was some concern from some members regarding questions they had about the role planning would play with a property that, under the guidance, under the guidelines and regulations of another town. So I certainly do think that they might be following up on that. They had some questions on that front. The other update they had at the planning meeting was that the commission has filed its appeal, I believe, to the town's lawsuit. I don't know they didn't provide any other status beyond that they had hired their counsel at the meeting prior, and then their representation did file their appeal. Region 15 met, as we spoke about at the Board of Finance meeting, during the Board of Finance meeting, and approved, the Board of Education approved their budget that resulted in will be a 2.96% increase. I think it's important to note that for those residents listening, that's about 0.03% of that is specific to education and curriculum and teaching. The rest of it is primarily fixed cost. So, but that was approved. All of Southbury's representatives were unanimous in voting yes, along with two of the four members of Middlebury's representative voted yes. So there were only two who voted in opposition of the budget on the Board of Ed. So it had overwhelming support from the Board of Ed members. And that's the update.
Thank you. Any other business?
Jeff, I'd like to discuss something that came up at our last meeting with the Board of Finance related to the police hiring and detective responsibility debate. I think it's been a difficult issue for the selectmen. It's come up twice, both budget seasons. During the budget sessions, we've had to deal with this issue. I would just ask that if it does come up again, could it be discussed before we get into the budget season where there's a real time crunch to get through everything? We have two very qualified and respected town officials involved. We got the first selectman and we have a Corporal Grillo, and they take opposite positions on that. And then we're put in a position as selectmen to try to weigh the merits of each argument, and they're difficult. I mean, you've got two people making legitimate issues in both directions, and I don't feel in my role here that I know enough about these issues to make the absolute right judgment, that I'm comfortable with. And so all I'm asking is that if again,
George, are you looking to add this to the agenda?
Not tonight, no.
Okay, then we'll go over it and we'll talk about it.
All right.
Okay. Any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Come on, guys.
Mike Rosen, so moved.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Hearing I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And it's carried. We're adjourned.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you.